Hello YouTubers, today we'll be installing the HALOVIEWRD7 camera system along with the additional CA112 and 109 cameras. Before I started the installation, I wanted to set up the trailer so I can check my polarities without plugging into the truck. Here's a trick I learned offline. Basically I got it on YouTube from one of our fellow YouTubers. It's I love RV life, but he gave us a pretty good point or tip. I want to hook up my lights and I want to check the polarity as far as which is positive, which is negative on my signal lights. So in order to do that, I've got my plug that goes into the back of the truck and a 30 amp fuse. And by just placing that into that spot, or those two holes, which is just crosses over. On mine, it's on the very bottom of the plug. Then, I'll turn this. You can see my lights are on. I hope you can see that. I'll unplug that real quick and plug it back in so you get a better idea. Unplugged, put the fuse in, now I've got lights. It's probably a little fuzzy, but mounting the camera wasn't too bad on the rear of the RV. Basically all I did is using the base plate, drilled 4 holes or marked holes for 4 screws, went ahead and mounted them in or screwed them in. Used some number 10 by 3/4 inch round slot, or I'm sorry, Phillips machine screws. So they went right in with no problem. Then when I ran the wire down, drilled a 3/4 inch hole just below my light, and I could reach up, pull out the wires, and make my connection there. Actually, all I had to do is to thread my camera cable up through the top. I pulled off my rear light, and then pulled out the cables, spliced it, made my connections, put it back in, and then just sealed it back up. Again, using silicone around the top of the light and also over the screws and around the top of the bracket. Not sure if you can see it or not, but the antenna for the repeater is on the top of the camper, just above the F on J-Flight. It went up pretty easy, just some silicone 4 screws and the 3M tape. Screwed it down with the 4 screws and closed, and put silicone over the top, and it mounted pretty nicely. As far as my cabling that goes from my camera to my repeater, like I said, I brought up the connector to the top of the roof using these reusable clips, wire ties. I stretched it out. I've got a little tape on here just for security while the wire ties take care, and then I'll probably end up picking up a little bit of Dicor tape, or else just some better adhesive waterproof tape. I had 39 feet. I wanted to make sure I had plenty. I didn't know if I was going to run it over or under the camper. Since I had some extra footage of it, I went ahead and coiled it up, as you can see, wire tied it in 4 different points or 3 different points, and then I put the adjustable reusable wire ties to hold it down in place. I also put it behind my rear vent. That way the cover is going to protect any wind flow, wind from making it vibrate or move around. The rest of it I just simply ran across the back over to next to my right hand gutter, ran it straight down to my vent for the refrigerator, then around that all the way down to the very end. Not sure if you can see that far. And then on the very end in the center, that's where I mounted my repeater antenna. Now that I've got my plug set up to check my lights with fuse, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the silicone from around my marker light and pop the lens. Just using a knife just to cut away. Okay, I've pulled off the lens. Now I'm going to remove the two screws that holds it in. See if I can pry it loose with the screwdriver, just to loosen it up a little bit. And I have a lot of that adhesive on it. Pull off all this extra gunk or insulation, kind of clean it up a little bit. And I'll clean that up a little bit later. I'm going to pull these cords out. Now I turned on my marker lights. I put my fuse in. This one evidently had some work done on one time. I think that one was switched or changed out. So I'll get my voltmeter. And I'm going to take the positive, put it up against it, or put the negative in here. Positive there. See if this is going to work. Need to find a good ground here. Okay, it looks like the white is negative because I got a negative reading. I'm going to reverse this. I'll put my black to the white, put the red on my cord, and let's see if I get a positive reading. this way. Okay, looks like my white is the positive there. And the black's going to be the ground. The next thing I'll do is I'm going to unplug or pull out my fuse, and then I'll cut these wires. Okay, now on this one, since it was done before, I'm just going to pop this off. I'll probably end up using the same sort of thing. There we go. Try to get the same length, and I'll cut the other one. There we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect my ground wires. I'm going to have to get the right size. That on there, make sure it's in there all the way, and crimp it. Now I'll do the same thing with my positive. The other one came off. I have to redo that one. Never said I was perfect. I do like these connectors though. And what I always do is take a little heat tape or shrink put it over it. Now, make sure that's going to work. Okay, we got to work in light. Now I've already done it on the other one, on the other line or the cord, but I'll do this one, and I'll just take a little shrink and put it right over the top here. I'll give it some extra and hit it with the heat gun. And now I've got a nice airtight seal or watertight seal on that. This might seem like a little bit of overkill, but I wrapped a little bit of black tape, electrical tape around here just to give it a little extra support and to make sure that there's no water leakage in there, although it is going to be packed in there pretty good. And then I'm going to have a bead of silicone around there as well. Now HALOVIEW has given us or supplied 4 self-tapping screws. I put the first one in. This is what our screws are looking like. Like I said, they're just Phillips head pan or Phillips self-tapping or tech screws, sometimes they call them, depends on the manufacturer. And they've given us enough for both lights. Now I put the first one right here, then I checked it with my level after confirming that, and I just take my screw, put 4 screws in, I don't want to overdo it because I don't want to strip out the hole. Now that's nice and secure. Pull the protective film off. These lenses, by the way, they just pop right off. You just take a common screwdriver, a small common screwdriver, and there's a little spot right here that you can just get underneath it and twist it and it pops right off. So, snaps right on. Screw the antenna on. Okay, now it's all plugged in and it's working. And the next thing we'll do is after we get the other one hooked up, I'll pair it with camera with the monitor inside the camper or inside the cab, and that's basically the whole installation process. I will get some silicone and I'll run it right along the top here just to protect any water from dripping down there. It does have a nice watertight gasket on the back of it, but just for safekeeping, I'll just run a little bit more around there so that way I can feel comfortable that it's not going to leak and I won't have an electrical problem. I'm not going to show the installation of the rear mount camera that I placed by the license plate, but the end result is basically I just mount it right here again with 2 screws, license plate screws, which I'm going to be changing over to security screws as soon as I get over to the hardware store. But for now I just use my regular screws. In this area it's not too bad, I don't really have a theft problem, but I want to avoid that, you know, in the future. My power cord is right here. That went behind the plate, then underneath the bumper, and then I have my light right here, my license plate light, which I attached it to. So anytime I'm going to be backing up to hook up to the plate or to hook up to the camper or any other trailer, I'll have my lights on and that will activate the camera. The overall installation took probably maybe a half hour, a little bit more, just because I had to dig up, find the wires for the license plate light. I didn't have a lot of room, so I had to cut it and splice it in there just to find out, and I also had to check it for polarity to determine which line was my positive and which was my negative. The overall review of it's going to be coming later. I did do a little test run backing it up to both my landscape trailer and also the camper, and it seemed to work pretty good. Only problem I had is a little on the jerky side, but it comes in pretty sharp, and I think it's going to save me a lot of trips in and out of the truck while I'm backing up and hooking up. Okay, I'll hope I can hold this steady while I'm running this demo. But right now you can see the 3 views. I've got rear camera, left, and right. By the way, I did use the mirror option to make sure that the cameras are showing the right side of the vehicle and the camper, as well as being right side up. When I first put them on, they were showing upside down, so I want to correct that for my own personal preference. So going on from there, camera 1, that is my left view. You can see my slides partial is out. That's my half slide. I do have like a wooded area next door to me, so that's what's really what you can see. Okay, the right side again, there's a truck that I'm presently sitting in. You can see down the right side of the camper, doors open. Of course, the light's not flashing back there in the garage, it's just because it's a camera. Okay, this is my license plate camera. It does a real good job as far as let me get closer to my receiver on my trailers. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and start it, and you can see the difference, at least we'll try to see the difference between the sharpness of the camera versus the my truck camper, or I'm sorry, my truck camera. That's mounted in the tailgate. So I'll put it in reverse, that's the only way I can do it. You can see it's a lot brighter there versus the truck. This seems a lot more, it's a lot hazier right now. Excuse the cord, I haven't rerouted that yet. I'm still playing around with my mounting system. But that is much duller. It's more, it's not as sharp as what the monitor is for my external camera or the HALOVIEW camera. So I'm really happy with the sharpness of this. Shut that off. And then we'll go to rear camera, and that again is mounted on the top of the camper. It's just above my marker lights. I connected it to my center marker light, and so doing a pretty good job. Disregard the mess in the garage. That's my project for tomorrow, is cleaning up my mess of everything I've been doing. I'm going to eliminate those gas cans, which I've emptied those into the boat. So anyway, that's that camera there. And then I've set it up for three-way view. You know, like when I'm driving, I can isolate any one of them that I like, but I really feel comfortable. Like if I'm going to be driving along, I'd have my my blind spots open, and I can see what's coming up behind me. Once I get on the road and start parking this thing, I'll have a better idea as far as how I want to adjust that camera. I do have some, a lot of room that I can make adjustments on. So the only other thing I want to add is that when I was putting on that rear camera, that was a real bear with the screws. Could be just because of the space, where the angle I was working on. But putting in those screws, which are M4 by M8 stainless steel socket head cap screw with a stainless steel washer and a neoprene washer. So they were a little bit awkward for my hands to handle, but it did go on. I got it. I did half of it yesterday, and then today, because it's going to start raining pretty soon, I came out here this morning and finished it off. So, and once I had a night's rest, it's easier for me to do it. So again, my three-way view, left, right, backup camera. That is a little jerky when I'm backing up, but it's not bad. And the rear. Menu is pretty easy to do. Didn't take any time for me to figure it out. In fact, I didn't even have to bother to open up the instruction manual. I could just pretty much figure it out. It did help that I watched plenty of videos on this specific device, but it was pretty good, and it was easy to do. Again, you've got you can select your volume. I happen to mute it. Whenever you select, you hit OK. Go back to it. That's for picture. I don't know if you can see that very well or not. Then we've got mirror image. That's how I reverse my images. It's a pretty handy device. This is my Q mode, and that is how I determine what cameras are showing when. It does time out rather easily. Doesn't have a real long time on it. Settings, just some general settings that you can do. Brightness and darkness, that sort of thing of the overall camera. Auto scan, where it'll cycle through. Your park lines, you can adjust that. You can record images. Case in point, if you've got an SD card, you can hit record, and that'll keep track of what's behind you or what's in front of you, however it happens to be pointed to. Then once you've recorded something, you can play. And pairing. I have to add, I was more concerned about the pairing feature than anything else. Let me bring that back up again. Everything I read as far as pairing, I did not need. These cameras hooked right up. As soon as it was almost like plug and play. As soon as I turned them on and turned on the monitor, they popped right up. So they had just a little bit of a lag or time delay, but I haven't had to do a thing as far as pairing. This thing is set up and ready to go, so I was really pleased with that. This is my current setup that I have right now in the cab of my truck with my HALOVIEW rear monitor, as well as my GPS, and also you can get a look here. This is the view of my backup camera that's on the truck right now. Obviously, if you look at it, I don't know if you can see it right now, but the HALOVIEW is much clearer than what the truck cab is, or the truck camera is. Now, I used the supplied mount that I got from HALOVIEW, and that I mounted onto the dash with the adhesive pad that it's on the bottom, which sticks quite well. It's contoured, so it does fit the curve of the dashboard. I also went out and got some command hooks. Actually, this is like a little clip that I could use to mount on my dash. I end up using a heavier duty two-sided tape that to hold the clips on, but it keeps the wires kind of all nice and neat, so they're not flopping around, and it's kind of like an anal thing for me that I really don't like to have them just hanging there. I like to have a nice, clean, neat look. So again, I put the GPS. I've got a mount that I got through Facebook, actually, that I was able to mount my Garmin on the back, and I ended up using a heavy-duty Velcro pad to stick it to the back of the clip, and that clip attaches nicely to my rear view mirror. And by connecting it to my rear view mirror, since when I'm pulling the trailer, the mirror is basically worthless. That way my Garmin is at a nice eye level for me, and at the same time I don't get the glare from the sun when I'm going down the road. I don't worry about that with my camera monitor, because that already has a shield for it. I did look into shields for my Garmin, but however, for that particular size, I really haven't been able to find anything suitable that'll stay on there and do the job. I know this video ran a little bit long, but if this installation of the RD7, the CA112, and the CA109 cameras helps your installation in any way, it's well worth it. And if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And most of all, thanks for watching.